How are things, guys? How's today been? I agree with you 100%, Charlie. It was one of them days, particularly this afternoon, it was just a case of sitting on your hands because price was taking highs, taking lows, weak structure everywhere. It's the sort of conditions you can get absolutely murdered. So, yeah, you often find that when it's coming up to major news, like the price sort of just ranges around, builds liquidity on all sides of the market to sort of fuel the move that comes post news. But hopefully we'll have something clear to work with tomorrow, but then it's NFP and Friday as well, so it could be quiet as well.
Hello guys, how are you doing?
Mass, how's things?
Very nice. And you?
I'm good.
Any trades today?
No, I didn't take on today. No, price action is very messy, sort of on EU and AU. There was one potential entry that Matt took this morning. It was right at session open, but I just passed on it. It wasn't that clear to me at the time. And then it's basically just didn't like the price action on the M15 this afternoon. So just sat in the sidelines. What about you?
The same. I think price just consolidating with all the news that we have this week. So nothing very clear, to be honest. Building sell side liquidity, buy side liquidity like everywhere. So I just stay patient.
Yeah.
No trades.
No, that's it. It's times like this here where you make your money as a trader whenever you have to sit in your hands. It's like it's very easy to give back 4 or 5%.
Yeah, I might just entertain it going through the journal and all this kind of work behind the scenes that we need to do. So
yeah, Worth Winning in Mind is a brilliant book. It's incredibly simplistic the way it describes everything. Like it's like it just hits you right in the face. Like it's one of my favorite books ever. It's a very simple book to read. Yeah, it's a brilliant book. Well, Rolando, how's things? So we'll give it one more minute. We'll give it till 3 minutes past and then we'll kick off.
we are a decent amount of people, 20, 19 now. So. Trying to see all the familiar names. Let's see if I can see anything different. Seems all right. So.
There's not much we can do about it.
Yeah.
Right, so we'll kick this off here, Anna. So basically, it's around about a year since Photon sort of started growing exponentially. Like, and obviously in that time, like me and Tomas and Matt, like we've seen a lot of people pass through the community, and obviously when you watch that many people over sort of 12 months, it's like you can see a lot of sort of commonalities among the people who are successful, the professional traders and the people that sort of don't really last for whatever reason. So just thought for something different today, I would sort of go through, what are the biggest mistakes that we see people make, things that you should be able to maybe catch yourself doing or recognize in yourself and maybe, change it. Again, fits with sort of the whole idea of building awareness of sort of your actions and your attitudes, your habits, all that sort of stuff. And obviously this isn't an attack on any one individual or anything. Like it's just sort of a general commonalities that we've noticed. So we'll start here. So it's been 12 months since Photon started to grow. A lot of traders pass through. The success or lack thereof obviously leaves clues. And like, I don't know about you, but like I know I love sort of reading biographies and stuff and learning from different people, learning what makes them tick, why people are successful, why people aren't successful. So we just put together a list of the biggest mistakes, and then we'll hopefully help you build awareness of the attitudes, habits, etc. So those 8 sort of ones that really stood out to me is like, number one is overly focused on the process, on the outcome over the process. Now, again, a lot of these will fall under this sort of umbrella, because like it's a thing we always say with trading, is that, you know, you have to be completely process orientated and you can't get too caught up in the outcome, because obviously we know random distribution, gamer probabilities, that we never know the sequence of wins and losses, that we sort of have to bring that consistency in what we do every day, because we can't depend on the market to act rationally and consistently. Refusing to take responsibility for their own trading. Unrealistic expectations coming in is a massive one. Putting funding on a pedestal. I know everyone loves talking about funding, so that'll be a good one to go through. Abusing the Discord. Shiny ball syndrome and getting distracted from the basics. Relying on a high risk reward to be profitable, which is an interesting one as well, because it's slightly, it will be counterintuitive to a lot of people. And overvaluing technicals, undervaluing mindset. So we'll start now with overly focused on the outcome over the process. So obviously people, human beings, we have a tendency to focus on the outcome rather than the processes that ultimately produce that outcome. It's like, look, there's no point in bullshitting or anything like that there. It's like, we're all in trading to make money. Anyone that says they aren't is either a psychopath or completely lying. So look, we all want to make money, but it's like, it's very important to sort of separate the outcome from the daily processes. So obviously in trading, it usually equates to focusing on, traders focusing on basically making profits over the daily processes. And you know, as we've all said, trading is the art of embracing uncertainty. The market is inconsistent. We do not know the sequence of wins and losses. So essentially, we have to bring consistency to the market with basically how we approach it. You know, whether that's with our habits outside trading, you know, our habits around trading, you know, with how we do our pre-session markups. You know, what do you do during session? Do you listen to an audiobook? Do you listen to music? What do you do to sort of stay in the zone, stay focused? So yeah, obviously it's very important. And then obviously a trading plan as well, that we have to sort of have those strict criteria so that we can confidently say, yes, this fits my plan. No, it doesn't. So yeah, it's like, do you bring consistency to your trading every day? You know, what time do you get to the charts? How do you do your pre-session analysis? Trading plan with clear mechanical criteria. You know, what process you follow for doing your daily markups. And I was literally talking to Tomas earlier just about sleep and how sleep sort of can impact your performance. You know, as far like Tomas noticed it, and then I've noticed it as well, that like if I've had a bad night's sleep and I'm a bit tired, I'm far more likely to take just to force a stupid trade. So you also have to factor all that in, like sleep, exercise, diet. Like I think that's a big mistake that you see people making, is that they think they're going to like sort of mess about in their personal life. You know, they're going to not, you know, whatever it might be, you know, sit up late, you know, not exercise, eat a crap diet, and then they think they're going to show up in the markets and just be like this pillar of consistency. And it's like, it just doesn't work that way. It's like discipline compounds just as money compounds. And it's like, you know, if you can build on those little disciplines, like, you know, your daily workouts, your daily fitness routines, whatever, you know, your daily meal prep, whatever it is you're doing, meditation, is like, you know, the more you do that, is like you're building the discipline and consistency muscle. So it's very important to, you know, be disciplined away from directly trading, although obviously everything around trading also contributes to your performance. So that's sort of the main one. And then, as I said, a lot of the ones that follow sort of fall under this umbrella as well. So it is a pretty big one. So refusing to take responsibility for their own trading is like, you see people and they come in and it's like, sort of would just want to, you know, completely mimic Matt or mimic me or mimic Tomas or mimic whoever it will be. You know, they just basically want to trade the exact same way. But it doesn't really work like that. It's like, it's like trading is pretty much as big an individual endeavor as you can find. It's like, it's up there with boxing, MMA, any other individual sport. Like, you know, it's like, you can have the system. It's like, you can have the exact same trading plan as Matt, but it's up to you to execute it. So it's like, we can learn from other people, but ultimately we're responsible for how we choose to interact with the market. It's like, you know, you might want to trade exactly like Matt, but Matt might be more aggressive than you. So it's like if you're trying to trade in line with Matt and it doesn't really fit with your personality, you're going to find it very hard to execute that trading plan. So it's like the freedom of expression in trading can be hard for people to embrace, mainly because like social pressures conditioned us to act in line with certain societal organizational norms. So it's like if you work for a company or like you come through a school, it's like you're conditioned to perform in line with the values of that organization. So it's like a lot of people come into trade in that sort of mindset that, you know, they want to trade the Photon strategy and they want to, you know, that is an absolute, that, you know, they just want to trade the Photon way. But it's like there's always going to be little nuances like that. Like me, Matt, and Tomas all trade in slightly different ways. It's like, yes, the bulk of it is the same strategy, but we all sort of trade slightly differently. Like Matt will be more aggressive than me with setting risk entries and things like that. I just don't really feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
And yeah, trading is definitely not a team sport. As I said, it's like boxing. It's like, you know, you can have, if you're a boxer and MMA fighter, it's like you can have the best coaches, you can have the best sparring partners, but like ultimately, whenever it comes to getting into the ring, it's down to you to execute. And the big part is it's like you have to have your ultimately build your own trading plan. And it's like, yes, you can base it on Matt's or base it on mine or whatever you want to do, but you need to accept that everyone trades slightly differently. So if you're completely welded to trading exactly that way and it doesn't really fit you, it's not going to work for you over the long term. So you need to have like the mechanical criteria. Like, you know, if you're trading counter M15, you also wait for an M15 shock. And it's like, you know, yes, that might result in you missing some trades. Like say a price comes in on M15 POI and you just play the counter trend trade off an M1 entry model. It's like you're going to miss some trades if you wait for the M15 shock, but at the same time, your strike rate's going to be a lot higher. So that's something that you just have to, that's just something that you have to basically figure out for yourself. You know, what works for you? What does your data say? You know, when you're journaling, you know, what do you find? And then like your personality as well. And then it's like having the mechanical criteria for your plan as well. Like, is massive, because that way you need to be able to, like, there's a lot of noise in the Discord of people sharing trades and you know, people, I took this, I took that. It's like you need to be able to say with like 90% certainty, you need to be able to look at a trade and say that doesn't fit my plan, and then that sort of, it just immediately cuts out so much of the noise. And then when you know that it doesn't fit your plan, it's like you don't even think about it, you just forget about it. So but that's ultimately what it, because you know, like if you see, like say somebody posts an entry, I don't know, on M5 risk entry, and it ran for 10 or if you look at that and then you automatically say, oh, I'm going to trade M5 risk entries now, it's like it's always worth looking into it, because maybe there is something there, maybe it is a good way of trading, maybe it is something you want to pursue. But it's like you can't just like say, just because somebody took it once, that, oh, I'm going to take that from now on, because it obviously works. Because again, it might have worked that time, but what's the strike rate like over a large sample size? So it's like that again ultimately comes down for you taking responsibility for your own trading rather than just copying immediately what somebody else does. So obviously in the era of Instagram, there's a pretty big one. Just people coming in having unrealistic expectations. It's like the trading industry, it's like particularly SMC, unfortunately attracts a certain type of person. It's like, you know, like I remember when we used to trade the old style, and I used to see like traders on Instagram sharing like some of the SMC stuff where it was like 20 or whatever the returns are. I was like some people get sucked into it. Personally, I thought it was probably bullshit, because like that's not possible, because like I execute in the 1 hour and, you know, 5% a month's a good return, blah blah. That was my sort of limiting beliefs at the time. But then obviously when I started to look into it, I obviously realized it was possible. And then it just attracts people that they're just, like I call them get rich quick merchants, because they just want to, they think trading's an easy money, come in, learn a strategy in a couple of months, you know, what's a zone, what's a chalk, and get funded and then sail off into the sunset making 20k, 30k a month, whatever it is they want. And then obviously it's been exacerbated by social media and ease of access to prop firms, because again, when me and Tomas started, there were no prop firms. As like the goal literally was, it's like if we wanted more capital trade, it's like you had to literally look at getting private investors. And basically to get a private investor, you're probably looking at 6 or more, like 12 months of consistent results.
12 months or more.
Yeah, exactly. So we were always looking to us like, oh, well, we always just had this like 12 months consistently. Like we were always looking at least 12 months down the road. Whereas now there's people coming in and they realistically think they're going to be trading 100K within 6 weeks. And it's just, and then it's like, it's the bullshit you see on, it's the bullshit you see on Instagram, like people sharing returns, and it's like, oh, they're doing whatever they're claiming, like 50 euro a month, 100 euro a month with 60, 70, 80% strike rate. And like new traders are sucked into the industry thinking that that's readily achievable. And it's like you bang these numbers into a compounding calculator and you think, oh, this is great. If I start with 10K and I do this much a month, I'm going to be worth 50 million pound in 2 years time.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's what people come into the industry. A lot of people get attracted into the industry based on this. And it's like, as anyone that's been in the industry for a while knows, it's completely unrealistic. Like it takes years to achieve trading mastery. And even then, it's like the journey of self-improvement never stops, because like you're always going to be looking to get better. It's like, when you're trading, say you're trading 7, 8 figures, it's like you've different problems later on, or you have different problems then than what you have now. So it's like it never just gets easy.
It just,
like
I think you really need to be like aware of the way emotions come into your day-to-day basis. Like we're talking about sleep. When you're trading 7-figure plus, we need to have all these different things set up. Otherwise, we start making mistakes that are not acceptable at that stage. So the best thing you can do is to prepare yourself since the beginning with the right process, the right attitude. And what I'm trying to show you guys, and David and Matt as well, is not about getting funded and getting a 20K or 100K and have a one winner and one payout. It's about sustaining that long term, because otherwise we'll be always chasing this vicious negative loop, and it will be just a reciprocal catastrophe, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like it's the biggest thing that I sort of took away from Mark Hutchinson on Falcon, which were me and Tomas like sort of traded for a while back in the day. But it's like he always said, think at scale. And it's like, it's all very well like if you're trading a small account, and it's like you're happy to, if you're trading £1,000 and you're risking 1%, then it's like you're happy to take 5 hits to hit the basically one winner, because then you're going to have the profit at the end. But it's like that's not sustainable. Like if you're trading $1 million, it's like you're really going to happily lose 50K just to then bank the 70 or 80 on the winner. It's like it's a different ball game. Like you just have to think differently if you want to trade at scale. Like, then the thing as well is like what amazes me is like when you think about how long it takes to qualify as a doctor, a lawyer, accountant, whatever it is like, yeah, people think they should be consistent in trading within 6 months. It's like, it's just ridiculous. Like trading's a profession. Like it's a very hard profession because there's the uncertainty within it, I think, is the killer that sort of makes it so difficult, and why a lot of people don't make it is because they just don't they're just not used to having that degree of uncertainty in any other area of life or in any other endeavor. Like every month, like when you're a trader, every month you come to the charts, like you're starting from zero and you have to make your returns. It's not like having a business where, you have recurring revenue and stuff. It's like, you have to be there focused, and that's where sleep and all comes in as well. Like you have to be there in an optimal state to actually make the money. And but I don't, like, let's be clear, there's never been a better time to be a trader with prop firms and all, because if you're, if you have the skill, then it's never been easier to get access to capital. But don't be gullible. As I know for a fact from talking to people like in DMs and stuff that there's guys that think they're a failure because they're not doing 20, 30, 40 euro a month after 3 months and quit. And like that's an absolute tragedy, because like if you just persevere with trading and stick with it and roll with the punches and reach consistency, it's like it's the most incredibly financially rewarding endeavor you can undertake. Like, but the fact that people sort of get discouraged just because they're not absolutely killing it after a few months is tragic in my opinion. So putting funding on a pedestal. Like I've just got this. This was shared before in the group. It was basically stats from my Forex fund for I think it was November last year. I was like, if you look at this is the number of traders that passed phase one. So it's 10%. So that's basically 10% of people passed the first phase of the challenge. 24% of that 10% passed phase two. So what's that? 2.4%. And then 3% of the 2.4% who passed through basically got funded, actually received a payout, which I think works out at 0.07% if memory serves. So it's like you're literally looking at like of all the people that like buy a challenge with MFF, it's like 0.07% actually get a payout, which like I get asked a lot of times in the group about challenges. It's like your goal is not to pass a challenge. Like, yes, you have to pass a challenge to get funded, but it's like your goal has to be how do you trade that account over 12 months, 24 months, 3 years, whatever it is. You can see just some of the stats down here as well. Over 60% of the traders in our database do not use a stop loss and have a high risk of ruin. Like that's just madness. I don't think anyone in Photon is gonna contemplate doing that. The traders who've made it to their fourth pay cycle all have a risk management strategy of below 3% risk on any given day. So it's like, again, risk management is key. Profitable traders are in the market less than 4 hours per day. It's like less is nearly always more with trading. Most profitable traders do not hold trades overnight just purely because there's always uncertainty. Like, and I used to always hold trades overnight with the old strategy. And it's like, it was so soul destroying when you'd like wake up in the morning, you'd log into MT4 and you'd see no positions there and you'd be like, right, that was a loss. And like, it's just particularly when you're trading funded capital, it's better to just be in and out.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else particularly interesting in that. Obviously, risk management is the key, but then it's like the prop firms are a wonderful tool for serious traders. Ease of access to capital and the payout can be used to grow your personal account, which should be the goal of every trader. It's like I get the impression from talking to some people that their goal is to be working for FTMO when they're 50. Which is like, but it's like
this new job.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like, you know, it's like I think it's just I never really got it because like prop firms, it's very questionable, I think, whether they actually have traders' best interest in heart. Probably, I'd say on the balance of it, they probably don't. Yeah, and then obviously they would help to attract the get rich quick merchants to the industry because again, there is always that carrot dangling that
it's a business.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like there is always that carrot dangling that, oh, if you pass this challenge and then make 10% your funded account, you're going to make 10K. And it's like that's what people sort of buy into. It's like I've literally had people like in my DMs, like they sign up to Photon and their goal was literally to be funded after a month. They thought they were going to sign up, learn the whole strategy, start a challenge, pass the challenge, and then cancel their membership after a month and sail off into the sunset as a funded trader. And again, it's like, it's just this whole, it's the mentality of like more focused on passing a challenge than learning to consistently execute their trading plan. Like that's ultimately all that matters. Like a challenge, it's simulated. Like it's not real trading, if you know what I mean. It's like they force you to trade in line with some arbitrary rules that they dictate. And it's like, you know, it's just, it's not conducive to consistently executing your plan, which is the most important thing. So it's like people getting caught up in challenges. Like, yes, you have to pass challenge to get funded, but it's like, it's a very small, you know, the goal is to consistently trade the account and actually get the payouts, not pass the challenge. It's a predatory business model. Like I don't completely understand it, but like my understanding is that it's basically the people that pay for challenges and fail the challenge, that it's basically in the majority of cases, it's basically the payments for the challenges, they are used to basically pay out the profitable traders. Although I do believe that FTMO anyway, they do have like certain traders connected to their live capital. So in that case, you probably are actually trading legit capital. And then, yeah, it's like just the my Forex fund statistics, 0.07% of people who start a challenge receive a payout. So it's like, if you're one of these people that like, you're always doing challenges, and it's like, you're constantly in a challenge hoping that you're going to pass one. It's like you're literally just doing what I call the funding dance. It's like, you know, you might pass the challenge, but then are you in a position that you're going to be able to profitably trade the account, or are you just going to fail that, you know, whenever it comes to actually trading it? Are you just going to fail then and lose the account anyway? You know, so that's why we always say it's like focus on growing a personal account rather than doing the funding dance. And then when you're ready, go for funding, because like you're basically just bankrolling FTMO by doing funding challenges when you're not ready. And it's just, in my opinion, it's a pretty foolish thing to do. Like just put €100 in, or £100, whatever you can afford, £500, £1,000, whatever you have, and then just try and compound it. And like, you know, if you trade it over 3 months and then you see that you've turned your £1,000 into £1,500, then that's brilliant. That's incredible. It's like you've shown yourself that you can compound the capital over time, and that's massive for your confidence. And you can also see the power of compounding working as well. So yeah, that's a massive thing. So yeah, it's like people just putting funding on a pedestal and sort of it's the be all and end all. It's like it's just a tool to use the capital to grow your personal account, and just don't try and force it, because you're literally just playing into the hands of the prop firms. And, you know, you want to be an asset to the prop firm. It's like you don't really want to be somebody that they're looking at as basically free money because you're buying challenges often for a demo account.
Can I add something, David, about the challenge?
Yeah, go on, Thomas.
I was just talking about the fact that there is nothing wrong. For example, people trying to pass challenge phase 1, for example, is 10%, and they get discouraged because they miss the 10% for any reason. The fact that if you know what you are doing and you miss a challenge for any reason, like don't do it 10%, which is actually not, in my opinion, super realistic, knowing that it's only 20 days, because if you don't count the weekends, it's probably like 20 days to trade. And to bank 10%, you are highly correlated to the way the market is moving at the time. If it's sideways, you're probably already not going to pass. So that's important to have in mind. If you go for a challenge and you know what you are doing, you have 3 months of consistent profitable results. Don't get discouraged if you don't pass the phase 1 and you need to try again, because the validation that you know how to trade coming from the fact that you have a 3 plus like a positive quarter or positive 2 quarters, not the fact that you need to slightly change the way you trade just to hit the 10% in the end of the phase. So yeah, that's something that I want to tell you guys if you are going to funding, and feel discouraged if you don't reach the 10% mark.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. It's like you said, Thomas, like me or you could try a challenge next month, and if the market's messy, range bound, it's like we mightn't hit the 10%. And it's like, it doesn't mean we're bad traders. It just means, like, at the end of the day, once we executed our plans, that's all we can do. Like,
yeah.
So we'll move on now to the 5th point, which is basically abusing the Discord. It's like we've always sort of placed from the beginning, like as soon as Photon started to grow, it's like we've always placed a massive emphasis on maintaining the standard of the culture in the Discord. Because just like it's no good for anybody if basically the Discord basically goes to shit. And if the Discord goes to shit, and it's like, you know, it may, you know, you don't want to go into it, you know, there's very little to be learned from it. So we've always sort of put a big emphasis on that there. It's like what you do is who you are. That's sort of how Ben Horowitz defined culture. He's a venture capitalist. You know, we've seen it in like other communities where basically the whole thing just descends into chaos when the Discord is allowed to get out of control. You know, ideally the Discord should be a shared space for like-minded people to share ideas, network with other traders, and ultimately improve their trading. You know, I've taken a lot out of like having, like, trading is a very lonely business in a lot of cases. Like, and I've taken a lot out of having, like, you know, Matt, Tomas, Alex, Thorben, Philip, Dan, all the experienced students, just having that little network where we can all sort of bounce ideas off each other, and sort of, if we're a bit low on confidence or whatever, can sort of have a, you know, conversation, sort of try and get back to, you know, try and get back to a good place. But you know, that's what the Discord should be for everybody. But unfortunately, it has a tendency to descend basically into a dick measuring contest where it's like there's very little stuff of value that is posted in the analysis channels. Like, you know, people only sharing winners and ridiculous risk to reward trades, which if you take that, that's great. You bank some nice percentage, you made money for the month, that's great. But it's like, you have to ask yourself, like, what is the benefit to the community of sharing this stuff? Like if you want to share trades, like annotate your charts, like say, this is why I took this trade, rather than just, smashing in the trade view screenshot or whatever. Like, you want to make, we want every member of the community to benefit from this. Like, and if you're sharing a trade, then somebody might get a lot from your markup. If you explain, the M15 was this, the 4 hours this, and then it's just, it makes it a better place for everyone else. And if you people just only share winners, and they're basically saying, oh, I have a 90% strike rate and I make 50 hour a week, it's just inducing FOMO and instilling unrealistic expectations in the new members, which, like, that's what sort of, like, I don't really care. Like, it doesn't affect me, because like I see people spamming the channels with like winning trades and all, and it's like, anyone that actually knows what they're doing can sort of see through it, that it's not, that you can see from the setups that, oh, they must take a lot of losses doing this. Like, it's not really it's not really it's not really possible for me to do that. But it's like, if you're a new member and it's like, you're looking at the Photon channels, and maybe we didn't take a trade for a week because just there's no setups, whatever, and then you're looking at somebody else that's banking 50, or it's easy to start looking at that person thinking, oh, I need to listen to them. But then it's like, are they actually doing it? It's like, if they're not being transparent, you don't know. So yeah, that's just like, I would encourage everyone to basically make the most of the Discord, get the most out of it, and just sort of contribute to making it a great community by sort of, sharing your annotations, explaining your thought process, like that, because at the end of the day, that's where the lessons are to be learned for people. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to touch on that, because it's like, I know on a lot of occasions the Discords can sort of get a bit out of control, and yeah, I just think it's always good to sort of touch on it, just to remind people that, we're for the many, not the few. It's like, there's a lot of silent members that probably don't even post in the Discord, that are reading everything and seeing what's going on and taking it all in. So you have to think of them as well. Yeah, I would agree with you there, Charlie. Euro USD Challenger in session is definitely a no-go, because and even like, I know I want to give a shout out to Chris in the EU channel, who he started sharing his weekly reviews, like, what trades he took, what trades he missed, what lessons learned. It's like, and that's the sort of thing that people can actually take value from. And again, that's him being transparent. He's not just saying, oh, here's all my winning trades. He's saying, oh, this is what I missed, this is what I didn't take, whatever. And like, again, that's him being accountable to himself and being accountable to the community. Like, and it's going to help him progress as well, because it's easy, like, to just bury your head in the sand and sort of avoid doing that sort of work. So the fact that he's willing to share it with the community as well, I would give him hats off to him. And again, I would encourage other people to. I didn't even know you were here, Chris. Yeah, that's the sort of thing that people should be aspiring to do in the Discord. Like, that's the sort of thing that I want to see in the Discord, and I'm sure other people take value from. So definitely keep an eye out for his post, because there is value there. Now I'll move on to the next one. Shiny ball syndrome and getting distracted from the basics. Like, simplicity is massively underrated in trading. It's like, people have a tendency, they want to keep adding more stuff in, like more pairs, more entry models, you're just adding needless layers of complexity. Like, if you're struggling for consistency, I'd say just focus on 1 or 2 entry models and just stick to the high probability trades and work from there. And it's like, because it's like, I trade 2 pairs. It's like, I wouldn't really recommend anyone else trading 2 pairs, because it's just a lot of work. And it's like, you automatically think it's twice the profit at the end of the month, but like, it's not always the case, because they use a tricky pair, and it's twice the mistakes, it's twice the work, it's twice the losses, and it's like, it's just not worth it. Particularly, if you're consistent with the EU and you find yourself, maybe you're sitting your hands a bit too much, then maybe yes, you want to add an extra one in. But I just thought I'd touch on that. But yeah, definitely just focusing on the basics. And trading is a zero-sum game. You can never forget that. So we have to keep improving, or else basically we're going to become the fish in the sea, where basically we get eaten by all the sharks. But it's crucial to have the basics nailed down before worrying about evolving the strategy. It's like if you're not profitable trading one or two entry models, it's like it's very unlikely you're going to be profitable trading four or five. The M1 continuation craze has sort of hit Photon at the start of this year. It was the perfect example of this. Like everyone basically went mad trading M1 continuations. I looked into them myself. Personally, I couldn't find a way to profitably execute them. I think when you are doing a hindsight markup and you see which ones played out, it's very easy to say, oh yeah, there was this, that, that it met the criteria, whatever. But I think in the moment, I think it's very hard to understand or gauge, when they're going to play out. I think the Photon strategy is built around M15 POI. So I think if you're trading an M1 continuation in the middle of the range, then you're basically gambling the price isn't going to pull back to an M15 POI and it's going to keep tanking. So, but everyone went mad trading them. It's like you couldn't go into the EU channel and everyone was literally smashing every M1 POI. And again, it didn't last. It's like I don't see anyone trading M1 continuations now. So I think that tells a story of maybe the fact that maybe they're not that profitable over a large sample size. Again, you have people worrying about entries when they've yet to master market structure or POI selection. It's like, as we all say, the hierarchy of importance in the Photon strategy: market structure, swing and turn or fractal, POI selection, liquidity, and then entries should literally be the icing on the cake, because the entries, you're literally just applying those three concepts to your entry time frame. So like, and then it's like just ultimately build your trading business and solid foundations. Like, get consistent with your whatever it is, your one or two entry models, one pair, and then you can basically look at diversifying into other areas. But that's it. It's like and again, it all comes down to like the shiny ball syndrome. When you see people claiming ridiculous returns, taking certain entries, like trading in the news or whatever, it's very easy to think, oh, maybe there's something in that. Maybe I should look into that. But like in the majority of cases, it's like, it's not profitable. It's not a good thing to do. And you're better off just ignoring it and focusing on the basics, your edge.
Yeah. Can I adjust something, David, about this topic?
Yeah, go on ahead, Thomas.
Myself and David was talking about this, and that we can see a lot of in this industry that some people change the edge like in three months, and you can clearly see like that's not a consistent approach. Okay, how can someone change the way that completely sees the market every 3 months? Like every change should be based on your own data. Of course, if you're ready, you need to know what structure, what supply and demand, and like all these basics. But after that, should come after all your analysis in your data. So at least 3 months to make any type of drastic change. For example, going from 10R to 5R, going from stop loss placement, maybe some kind of, you want to be more aware of, for example, inducement in terms of entry a trade, but it should take time. You shouldn't suddenly shift everything you are doing just because you see on IG someone putting a nice 1 to 10, 1 to 15, and you are without placing a trade for 1 week. And this is like super unprofessional, in my opinion. Every time I see someone changing the trading style every month or every 3 months or every time the new thoughts come, just need to ask yourself, are these people really trading, or they are always trying to find their feet? They're always like in the very early learning stage. Because looking back in my journey, all the people I learned from, all the mentors that I truly respect, they were very consistent with their trades and only changed their approach not when the new things come out, the new thoughts, but they actually tested, implemented live trading, and if they have the results, they then change their approach. But while doing this, they do this while doing the old strategy, let's say, in the back. So yeah, just be cautious when you see this type of behavior, because it's definitely from people that are not professional in this field.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I think SMC in particular, I think there's a lot of salesmen who love, basically, they're always trying to sell you something, and they're constantly sharing new strategies, new sauce, whatever they want to call it. And it's like you sort of have to question the motives behind it. Like,
yeah, I definitely, I recommend you guys and I did myself. I was talking with David and Matt. I personally don't. I delete what I used to do is, and after going through the daily psychology journal, I spend some more time than I used to than I like on social media. So I just delete it from my phone. I just allow me to go on Sundays. But I can see like people are more worried about making like reels on Instagram than actually reviewing that rate. So it's crazy the amount of effort people put in like editing videos, all that stuff, when it should be like it's just like it's trading. It's not trying to sell something. Like it's crazy what I see. It's crazy.
And you should be making your money from trading, not trying to sell people from Instagram reels. But
yeah.
it's just sort of one of the first points of basically trading attracts a certain type of person. As I think people are sort of always going to get attracted to the new thing, and unfortunately, that I think what you're talking about there is the perfect example of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is an interesting one. Relying on a high risk reward to be profitable. So this might be slightly controversial to some people, but we all know it's possible to be profitable with a low strike rate as long as your average winner is sufficient. Like, and with Photon, it's easy to have sort of an average winner 1 to 10. So like you can be profitable with like a 20-30% strike rate. There's no doubt about that. I'm not denying that. I'm not questioning that. But it's like, do you really have to question whether that is sustainable with large or funded capital? It's like, are you going to be comfortable taking 8 or 10 losses in a row on a funded account? And like if you have a per strike rate, 8 to 10 losses in a row is going to happen regularly, just by the random distribution. Personally, I'm not willing to do that. It's like some people maybe, but I just can't do it. I sort of, as I said earlier, I've all sort of tried to think at scale, and it's like, yes, when I was learning this strategy and trading very small capital, I was regularly taking 8 to 10 losses in a row, and then I was making it all back. But when I started to sort of scale up my personal account, it was just out the window. It's like there was no way I was gonna be willing to do it. So it's like, in my opinion, everyone should aspire to improve the strike rate and achieve the balance between strike rate and ORR. And again, other people, that balance between strike rate and ORR, it's going to mean different things for different people. Some people might be very happy being aggressive. They might be happy taking, being in and out, being in the market more often. It's like, personally, that doesn't fit with my personality. I've seen a lot of people pass through Photon and they got funded by relying on the risk reward, and you'd see them posting in the Discord that, I took 8 losses in a row, but 1 winner has brought me back in a profit and all. And it's like they rarely last. It's like they go quiet and eventually sort of slip out the back door. If you look at the My Forex Fund statistics from earlier, it's the traders who bank little and often who consistently get the payout. And it's like, if you look at the FTMO leaderboard as well, it's like it's all those people. They're just banking little and often. They're not swinging for the fences. They're not trying to do 40 or a month. They're just basically buying it whenever the profits are. They take it and they pay themselves. So yeah, that's just something to be aware of. If you are somebody that has sort of takes a lot of hits, and yes, you are profitable because of your winners, like, you need to think maybe, do you need to tighten up on some things, like maybe, be a bit more stricter with liquidity in the entry models or POI selection. There's things you can do that sort of are going to increase your strike rate. So yeah, that's that one there. It's like, it's just based on, like, I've seen a lot of people that got funded while taking a lot of losses, and it's like, I don't think any of them ever really did it very successfully over sort of the long term, which is sort of what we are all aspiring to do ultimately. Then I think the last point, yeah, obviously overvaluing technicals, undervaluing mindset. And obviously, after doing the mindset workshops, I don't think I really need to go into too much about the importance of mindset here, but it's like, when you're starting out, it's like you think the trading is simply about mastering the technicals, and it's just about getting the strategy, getting Matt's trading plan or whatever, and just executing it. And that's pretty much all there is that goes into being consistent. I know it's completely understandable. It's like, you don't know what you don't know. It's like, I remember whenever I first joined Photon and we were trading the old strategy, Matt basically, it was completely mechanical. And it's like, for the first time, I hadn't really had a mechanical edge before. And for the first time in my life, I had clear mechanical criteria for every entry. So I could say with a great degree of certainty, yes, it fits my plan. No, it doesn't fit my plan. And then it was at that point, I was like, right, this is great. And then sort of a couple of months in, it was then that I realized how important mindset was, because even though I had these mechanical rules, I was still making mistakes because, you know, I wasn't following management plan because I was scared of taking a loss, things like that there. So, you know, it's like you don't know these things like until you sort of experience it for yourself in the market. And it's like people reach a point where they have a solid grasp of technicals, but they still aren't consistent. And in most cases, it's going to be their mindset holding them back. Like if they do have a good strategy and they have a good grasp of that strategy, in the majority of cases, it is going to be their mindset holding them back. And this sort of ties in with shiny ball syndrome as well. It's like people tend to look for the solution. They look for a technical solution to a mental problem, in that, you know, they want a new entry model. They want, just want to add in something else, like, you know, whether it's an M1 continuation or whatever, and they're constantly messing around with the strategy. And then they're adding into the layer of complexity as well. That's unnecessary, that was sort of mentioned earlier. And then like anyone that sort of reached a decent level in trading knows that like trading is as much about mastering yourself as it is about mastering a strategy. Because like I look back to the person I was when I first joined Photon, like, and it's like it's pretty scary how much I've changed, just because I threw myself into Photon completely at the start of COVID, and it was like basically sink or swim, and you just had to adapt. It's like you just had to change my ways, change my habits, beliefs, etc., just to get to where I wanted to go. And yeah, that's it. It's like that's it. But probably a fairly obvious one. Like anyone that sort of reached a certain level understands the importance of mindset. But it's an important one to touch on, because you might have people earlier in their journeys that sort of are completely focused on the technical and sort of oblivious to the importance of mindset. Then very quickly, what are the traits of those that reach consistency? It's like quite simple. They ruthlessly execute their daily processes. It's like whether they're winning, losing, up money, down money, it's like they're at the desk every day. They're doing their markups, they're doing session analysis, they're keeping their routines. You know, that's an absolutely massive part of it. Like it's like if you stick at trading long enough, you're probably going to get consistent.
Yeah.
They've realistic expectations. I think I remember JH, one of the experienced students, remember when he joined and he sort of came in, I think he admitted himself that he had slightly unrealistic expectations, then basically took a step back and said, right, I'm going to forget about all that. I'm going to forget about funding and all, and I'm just going to focus on getting consistent. And
Focus
like
on the process.
Yeah, focus on the process. And like the progress he's made is incredible. Like you can see the markups he shares, like it's brilliant. But that's it. It's like he basically had slightly unrealistic expectations coming in, realized that, tempered them, got more realistic, and basically has reaped the rewards. And there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to be consistent very, very, very shortly. They take responsibility for their trading and they never stop improving. It's like they understand that ultimately they're responsible for the results, and you know, if something's not, if something's not working in their trading, they take responsibility for it. They take it out, they fix the problem, whatever it is. You know, if there's an entry model that isn't working, even though, say you have a straight chalk in your entry model plan and you find that over a large sample size it's not working, then they just pull that out, no emotion. And even if Matt or me or whoever it is takes straight chalks, they just accept that, well, it's not profitable for me. And if one of them plays out, there's zero emotion. And then obviously never stop improving, always looking for ways to improve their edge. And most importantly, they don't quit, because like trading's unique in that, yes, it's an incredibly hard business. Yes, very few people will make it in the end. But if you stick at it and you keep improving and you keep you just stick at it. It's like if you get your strike rate on your average winner to a certain place, you're going to be profitable. It's like you just have to basically stick at it long enough and keep looking for the improvements. And, whether it's your mindset, whether it's technicals, whatever you need to improve until you get there, then you're going to be consistent. Whereas there's too many people, again, ties into the unrealistic expectations that come in expecting to be trading 100K in 2 months. And then basically whenever they don't get there, they basically become disheartened and quit. And then, yes, they mightn't have done it in 2 months, but they could have done it in 6. But they don't know because they quit. So it's like, I think with me and Tomas, we both sort of burnt our bridges probably slightly prematurely when it came to trading. But it's obviously beneficial to do that because you've literally no choice but to figure everything out. And it's the definition of sink or swim. But basically, just don't quit. If you approach trading with the attitude, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there, and I'm not going to quit, then you're probably going to get there. And it's as simple as that there.
Definitely. And something that about successful traders, in my opinion, is it comes like falsely. What I mean by that is when you go, for example, to the gym and you see a guy that's in shape, like for him, being in shape and having a nice body, like it's just natural, something that of course it takes effort, but it's just something that is natural, is himself. Like he's the person, the process it does, like it's just himself. He doesn't force it. It just feels good. Like he's in training, it feels good, it's natural. And it comes to trading, to consistency trading, especially people that are trading 7, 8 figures, it just flow like water. I mean, like if you ask them, these people, like how can they be so successful? It's just something that is natural. They don't. It's nothing that you. It's nothing like they did like crazy. It just they focus on the right things for the right amount of time, and now they are reaping the rewards. And it just seems that it's natural. It's not overcomplicating things. Just an opinion. In my opinion, is like that. So I'm not sure about you, David, if you share the same opinion.
Well, that's absolutely it. And it's like it's all about sort of incremental improvements as well, because like my sleep used to be absolutely terrible. And like I remember sort of when I first joined Photon, it's like the alarm would sort of go off at 5 to 6 and I would sort of roll over and check the charts. And then if there was like a trade setting up, we used to execute like at the hour. So you only really had to check the charts at the end of the hour. And if there was a trade, I would sort of execute it and then sort of roll back over and go back to sleep, which I'm not too proud of. But it's like now I can I sorted that out. It's like sort of figure out my sleep. And like now I can sort of get up at 5 o'clock. No problems. But then it's like, you know, somebody might look at me and say, oh, he gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Geez, he's a great fella. But it's like they don't see sort of the struggle and the journey that sort of led to me getting there, that, you know, it didn't come naturally to me and it was something that I had to figure out. And yeah, you know, it's the same manner. You know, you see somebody in shape in the gym, as Tomas said, it's like you don't know how many years of sacrifice, how many years of, you know, 5 workouts a week they put in to get there. So it's like you just have to sort of have your realistic expectations and then keep executing the processes. And I think that is pretty much it. Yeah. So now we'll do a few questions. See, there's one there from Zebra about relying on high or in my 3 months at Photon, attending meetups and watching some of the recaps and weekly market breakdowns. I've seen far more failed and break-even trades than wins. So I've been assuming that the Photon approach relies on high or trades to be profitable. I was like, our average winners are like, even Tomas, like Tomas TPs at 5 to 1, like 5 to 1 in trading is still a pretty high risk to reward. Like you people that already trade 1 to 1 and maybe 2 to 1. So it's like, yeah, I don't think we rely on high RR trades, but it is a naturally sort of slightly high RR strategy. But it's like where my issue is when you see people basically sharing 30 RR trades, 40 RR trades. That's sort of what I mean by high RR. Would you agree with that, Tomas? Or?
Yeah, definitely. I personally use 5R, and it's what you said about strike rate. With 10R, I just feel that there's a lot of trades that it just doesn't make sense for me having 7% coming back to break even when it comes to scale. Doesn't make sense for me giving so much back to the market in terms of what I want from trading. I want to be something that is sustainable, calm, that I can consistently execute without bringing too much emotions in the process. So yeah, 5% is definitely a nice target, but this doesn't come from, oh, okay, 9% is 5. It's fine. No, I just went through the data and it makes sense for me going to 5%. So I advise you to don't change without having data behind. And something that I'm always just have an idea. I have a folder on Notion. I write down 8 years that I want to test. And I want to test in the end of the year, going through all the trades or in the beginning of the next year. maybe some of you don't like it, but I personally want to know if I can have a strike rate plus 50% plus with 1 to 3, just to know if it makes sense or not, because you can play in the Photon risk calculator about strike rates, and if you have a 50% plus strike rate with 1 to 3, you have an amazing strategy. It's not something that I will shift straight away, but just something that I want to test, because in my opinion, it's up to how you want your strike rate. Of course, if you want a strike rate of 30-40%, okay, 1 to 5 can be done. But if you want, for example, 70, 60, I think the only way is going back to the 1 to 3s or something around that. So yeah, personally with 1 to 5, but I'm just sharing an idea early with you guys. But yeah, definitely don't. I'm not a big fan of IRR, just because I don't think it's something that people with large funds do. But just my opinion.
Yeah. So hopefully that cleared that up about the, you know, it's like, yeah, hopefully it cleared it up. When you say never stop improving, what are some ways we can track our improvement besides trade results? It's like, just track, like, have your processes, like, you know, the little things that you want to do every day. Like, are you doing your daily markups? You know, are you back testing the weekend? Are you, you know, just the things like that there, without, you know, if you want to meditate before you trade, it's like, are you doing that there? It's like, if you track all that there, it's like, and these are the processes that ultimately produce the results. Like, if you are consistently executing them, then the results will come. So that's pretty much how you can, you know, if you're getting better at executing your processes, but you haven't got the results yet, you can still be confident that you're on the right track. Would you agree with that, Tomas?
Yeah, definitely agree.
My personal journey with Photon, that before I joined, I used to make profitable trades, but I wasn't consistent. But what I got from Photon trading in the group, that I became more mechanical, and that led to less emotional trades, less stress, and more consistent during the strict play plan and mechanical approach. Yeah, that's it. It's like, mechanical edge is absolutely massive, because you just need to be able to say with 90+% certainty that whether a trade fits or doesn't fit your plan. Because if you don't have that, then it's like the Discord can completely put your head away, because you see all these trades play out and it's like, you can justify the trades. So you're sort of thinking, oh, should I have taken that, blah, 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 whereas you need to say, no, it doesn't fit my plan. So yeah, I would agree with you 100% there, Mo. I think it's easier to get 1 to 5 twice a day versus having 1 to 10 once. On top, there's good material and videos if you want to go 1 to 10 plus. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like, the way I sort of manage is, my default is sort of 1 to 10. That's sort of what I aim for, in that if I'm getting in a trade and I don't think there's a good chance that I'm going to get that sort of risk reward, then I don't bother. But I've also sort of started including more sort of technical targets within that, in that I'm not going to hold, like, if I have a trade that's running 1 to 6 or 1 to 7, I'm not going to hold through like major structure or strong supply in the man zone to try and get 1 to 10, just because that doesn't make sense to me. I'm happy just banking the little bit of, just buying, or not even a little bit, just banking the money. And then similarly, you know, there might be occasions where everything's absolutely aligned and, you know, you have a high degree of confidence that the M15 low is going to get run, for example. You know, say the 4 hours aligned, you know the scenarios, like, where you just have a fair degree of confidence with what's going to happen. And then, you know, in those occasions, it might maybe hold to like 1 to 15.
Yeah,
but that's very, very rare, because once it sort of gets to 1 to 10, I sort of get the itchy finger on the mouse.
And just while what I did say, something that you can also think about, maybe an idea, and this is more advanced. So if you are new, just stick to the management. I advise a mechanical way, because technical, you need to really know what you are doing. But just an idea is having, and something that I work on, that is having 2 different management strategies, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just need to understand when you should use one or the other, because you can have, for example, a 1 to 5, 1 to 3, 1 to like 7, whatever. And you can have other one that is, for example, for a more swing approach. What I mean by that is mention that you are catching a higher low on H4 in the discount, very good price, and you are expecting the high time frame higher low. So maybe you want to have a different strategy for this kind of moves where you can squeeze a little bit more instead of 1 to 5. You maybe want to have, for example, a technical target where you can, instead of close 1 to 5, you can remove, for example, 20% or 50% and let the rest run. So there's a lot of variables involved, but something to think about if you want to have these large trades.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the technical cards, I really wouldn't advise that until you're sort of more experienced, because it's like previously, before sort of the new advanced internal structure concepts were introduced, it's like, and when I was sort of learning the strategies, like you used to swing for fence all the time because you think like, oh, M15's bearish, the way close going to go, and you'll be targeting like 20, 30 or something ridiculous. But and then basically what I didn't realize at the time was the internal was bullish, and the basically price then just mitigated demand and continued higher. But then when you understand when everything's truly aligned, like if you have the internal and the swing and then the 4 hour as well on your side, then that is when you can swing for the fences if you want, but don't try it until you're sort of more experienced. How reasonable is it to want a win rate of 4 out of 10 with a risk reward of 1 to 5 in 8 months? I'd say that's pretty sustainable, yeah, or pretty achievable. Would you say so, Tomas? I wouldn't say that's.
How reasonable is it to want a win rate of 4 out of 10? 8 months, so a 40% win rate, right?
Yeah, 40%.
I mean, I personally don't know if you already have experience, to be honest. I think if you're coming from the really beginning, you still need more than 1 year, definitely. If you already know the strategy, if you already are familiar with supply and demand, yes, 1 year. Yeah, but it will depend, like, I can't say, like, I don't know how you trade. I don't know if in that year, if you're already profitable, if you're still watching content, if you are in the develop phase, which is making the exercise that I recommend, that is collecting the data. So it will depend a lot, but I just, from my experience, having a 40% win rate with 1 to 5 is something that, in my opinion, is possible, but it needs a lot of work for you to get there. But yeah, just my opinion, that in my opinion, it's possible. You just need to work to get there. But yeah, definitely, in my opinion, of course, depends from trader to trader.
Yeah, that's what I would say. It's definitely like it's definitely worth aspiring to. Like it's definitely an achievable goal, but just don't get caught up in that it has to be within 6 months or 8 months or 12 months. Just keep working towards it, and there's definitely no reason why you can't get there eventually.
And something that I just want to reinforce is that with 1 to 5, guys, even in the 20, of course, you don't want to have 20% strike rate. That's not the goal. I'm not trying to say that. Imagine that you did a lot of mistakes and you take 10 trades and only 2 were winners. You still come up with a profit in the end of the month. So you still survive, which means that you don't need to go in negative, and yeah, it's still impossible, which is awesome. So 1 to 5 is definitely something to think about. And if you have 30% strike rate, you just have, in my opinion, a nice month, because it's plus, it's 5%, I think, or plus 5%. So something that is very good, in my opinion. Anything that gives you more than it gives you a double digit in the end of the quarter is good, in my opinion. So
I think it's like the SMC Instagram world that does, like, you know, when you see people constantly sharing $100 trades, it does give people completely unrealistic expectations. Whereas like if you can do 20% a quarter, it's like buying it into a compounding calculator, then you'll see where you'll be in 10, 20 or 10, 15 years time. It's absolutely scary. Like, so does anyone else have any questions, or will we call it a day? No. Right, well then we'll call it a day there, and thanks very much for your time, guys. Hopefully you took some value from that. So right, thanks,
if you guys
guys.
have any questions, send us on Discord.
Yeah, just tag us in the Discord. All right, I'll chat to you soon, guys. Have a good one.
Bye, guys.